Hold on. All right, I'm back. Cool. All right, y'all, welcome tonight. Number 2 here at high school camp. As y'all know, the theme for this camp is Rise Up and Build. Right, rise up and build. That's like this whole church, our whole church, Momentum Church, that's our theme for the year, is Rise Up and Build. And last night, y'all got to hear, I don't even want to say a good word, a great word from Adam. A great word. About how it's never too late to chase after Jesus. That your past isn't your future. It's never too late in the game to say, watch me change, watch me move forward, to rise up from society and stand up for Jesus. It's never too late. And it definitely resonated with me. Now I know y'all sitting out there, you look at me, you look at Tim, you look at your leaders, and you're like, man, they got it figured out. We don't. We're just as much a mess as all of you, I promise. I promise. But it's my faith in the grace that Jesus gives me that allows me to rise. Because I know I'm broken, I know I'm imperfect. And hearing that message, that's a man amongst men. He told you about 1% of the things he could have told you. It's a man amongst men. And when someone humbles themselves down and gives a testimony like that, if it doesn't rattle to your core, then I'm praying for you. Because it shook me. It brought things out of me. And I heard from your leaders that your small groups were on fire last night because of the seeds that he sowed. So give it up for Adam one more time. I love you. So we learned to rise up. Now we're going to move to part 2, 2A. 2B's tomorrow. 2A, we're going to learn to build. But I'm specifically going to talk about building relationships with people. Building with people. Okay? And there's this word that came to mind when I was talking about this message. I was thinking about this message. I was praying about this message. I was studying for this message. And I kept coming back to a word that means a lot to our church. And it's a word, community. Community. Now, for those of you that are like YTH high school OGs, you remember my first series called Building Momentum. It was like last October. And I went over the 3 core values of Momentum Church. Compassion, commission, and community. Say community. There it is, community. That's our core values. Those are the pillars that our church stands on because we truly believe that. We believe that is where life change happens, is in the community. And then we go deeper. We have these 12 things called nautical markers. That's our DNA. It's Momentum's DNA. It's what guides our vision. If you go down that list, you get to number 7, and it says that, well, we value the power of community. There it is again, community. Say community. 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 Because life is better together. And you've probably seen that around the church. That's the slogan for our groups. As a matter of fact, August 21st, you're going to see a whole season of that, where it's going to be all over our churches because we're launching community groups. And we want every single person to have that sense of community. Now that's a big word. That's a huge word, community. So I'm going to bring it down to little bite-sized pieces. I'll break it down. Because the base of community is just a bunch of relationships. A bunch of relationships that weave this web of community. It's all these relationships that are synergistic with each other and create community. So we're going to take that, we're going to break it down, we're going to talk about relationships and how that can spark a community. And y'all have already seen it here. We've been here, spoiler alert, I know it feels like we've been here for like a week. We've been here for 2 days. 2 days. 2 days. And this is what I've seen. I've seen people try to quit at the base of a mountain and nobody let them. I've seen people get 2 rocks on a rock wall and someone say, you got 6. I got to trauma bond with somebody who I didn't meet until 2 days ago who said, I'm not getting on that rock wall. And I said, you got 6 rocks. And she did 6 rocks. She said, I definitely ain't getting on that high ropes course. I said, you like beef jerky? She said, I sure do. And she got up on that high ropes course and did the whole thing. Now, sure, we had to pray every step, but she did it. She did it, yeah, she did it. I've already seen the power of community here in the last 2 days.
That's right.
Raise your hand if you've done something the last 2 days that you probably wouldn't have done without somebody encouraging you.
Yes.
And everybody look around.
Yes.
That's the power of community, y'all. To get you outside your comfort zone, because that's somewhere you're never going to grow. You grow outside your comfort zone, and community and relationships is what brings you there. So community, why do we hold community and relationships so tight to our chest here at Momentum Church? That's a big question. It's a hard question. And like most hard questions, when I don't know the answer, there's this amazing book, it's actually a collection of books called the Bible, that I like to go to. It's more like a library that you can use very intently. 66 books for a purpose. And the book that my heart was drawn to for this message, you can throw it up on the screen, my first one please, is Ecclesiastes. Book 4, we're going to go through verse 9 to 12. I'm going to break it down as I talk. 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their labor. Now, I know some of y'all might not be there yet, and you might not understand good return or bad return on investments, but some of us were like halfway through our journey of our working life. Investments matter. I want to retire one day, and I know what a good return is, and I know what a bad return is, and I know that 2020 and 2021 bottomed out my portfolio, and now I'm probably going to have to work an extra 40 years to be able to retire. But there's good returns and there's bad returns. That was a joke for the adults in the audience, and I saw them all start to cry when I brought up their retirement funds and what's happened to them for the last year. But there's good returns and there's bad returns. And this says there's good return for their labor when 2 are better than 1. You will be able to accomplish more with somebody by your side than you could ever accomplish alone. And it's little things. You think about building a house. What's going to build a house faster? 1 set of hands or 2 set of hands? 2 set of hands, right? You need a task done. The more people on that task, the faster it gets done. Well, there's these crazy things. Who rode horses when we went and did our activities yesterday? All right. There's these crazy things called Belgian draft horses. I want to tell you about it. A Belgian draft horse, his whole job is to pull things. One Belgian draft horse can pull 8,000 pounds. That's almost as much as one London Tailor. 8,000 pounds. So how much y'all think 2 Belgian draft horses pull? You 16, right? 16,000 pounds makes sense. If one can pull 8,000, 2 can pull 16,000. No. 2 Belgian draft horses at base can pull 24,000 pounds together. Wow. Now, if those 2 Belgian draft horses are trained together and routinely work together, they've been shown to pull 32,000 pounds. Wow. That's 4 times more than one horse. When they're equally yoked, they're trained together, and they work together, the power of that relationship makes them 4 times stronger.
Right.
4 times stronger. What do you think you can get out of a relationship between 2 of you? Right? All right, let's get back into scripture. Let's go. Verse 10. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. Yes. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Now we can attack this from the literal sense or the figurative sense, and I'm going to attack it from both. When you're playing a sport, when you're tired, when you fall down, how nice is it when one of your teammates comes over and does this? Right? I've dabbled in some sports, and I can tell you when I'm winded and I'm tired and I fall down, the 1% of energy that I get to save when a buddy comes and puts a hand out means the world. But figuratively, how many people have gone through a season where they feel like they just can't get back on their feet? How many people have been in a moment where you've fallen down and man, you can't get up? And it was because of somebody who loved you enough to be there that you were able to get back on your feet, that you were able to take that step forward, that you were able to get out of that rut. Because that's what friendship is when someone sticks by your side when there's really no rational reason to be there, but they're going to do it anyway because they love you.
That's right.
They will get you back on their feet. They will put their hand out, and they will pick you back up from that place. And moving on to verse 11. Also, if 2 lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Again, literally, like 2 bodies will keep each other warm. Actually got a really funny story about this. Bear with me. It's not that kind of story.
Steve, okay.
So in the military, if you have a chance of being caught behind enemy lines, you go to this thing called SEER school. Survive, evade, resist, escape. And you got some classroom work, and then you got some field work, where you're basically evading the enemy, and then they capture you, and you're a POW, and it's like, oh, the worst week of my life, and I totally am not triggered by it at all, but I am. But anyway, you have a partner when you're evading, when you're running away, when you're trying not to get caught. Well, I was lucky enough to do this in Kittery, Maine, which is 30 miles south of Canada, in January, with about 10 feet of snow on the ground, with none but the clothes on my back. Yay me. Well, it was time to go to bed, and it got into the negatives at night. And they taught us how to keep warm. And that was skin-to-skin contact, man. Like, is that or you freeze?
Yep.
And they also like to pair senior officers with junior enlisted because they want you to see both sides of that coin. So here I am, Lieutenant Mendez, and here I am with Private, who knows, Marine Corps, and the sun is setting. We dig a hole in the snow. And it's time to go to bed. And I looked at him and he looked at me and we were like, well, man, I guess that's it, right? And we slept. We slept and we stayed warm. The story doesn't end there. What's really cool is after we woke up and looked at each other like, we never tell anybody about this, right? Is 2 years later, I'm shipping off to the Middle East for my first deployment. And the first person I run to was my cuddle buddy from SEER school. And we look at each other in the Middle East with the... and we just go about our business and nobody was any the wiser. But two bodies will keep warm like one body cannot. I promise. I promise. But also, I know, y'all can laugh, I get it, like, it's cool. But figuratively, like, we warm each other's hearts. I cried during worship because I saw people praising that had never praised before. My heart was warmed seeing people close their eyes and really submit. My heart is warmed when I see people take a step further than I thought they would have taken a week ago. I'm gonna call it out. Peyton, you're killing it, man.
Yeah, man.
I'm so proud. I'm so proud of you. If you only knew the mountains that some of you have climbed up,
That's right.
I see it and I celebrate it. And that warms each other's hearts. Go back to verse 12. It says, though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. And a cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. This is my favorite verse of the whole bunch. It was my favorite, in fact, that I made it the Bible verse of my wedding. A cord of 3 strands is not easily broken. When Tim married me and my wife, that was the whole background of our wedding, was that Bible verse. And it's true. Because a marriage at its core is what? It's a relationship. It's a friendship. It's the greatest friendship I'll ever have on this earth. Me and my wife. You know, it says when 2 people are together, they can defend themselves. And you think about it, you got 2 people back to back. Well, I got his back, he got my back. The enemy can't outflank me. I'm covered 360. Good luck if it's me and Adam. Because you ain't getting in there. And it goes on to say, a cord of 3 strands is not easily broken. Now, every relationship has 2 strands, right? It's you and the other person. Whether it's a friendship, a relationship, a marriage, boyfriend, girlfriend, family, it's 2 people. But that 3rd strand is the one that matters the most. That 3rd strand is the one that makes each individual better, but makes their relationship stronger. Because that 3rd strand is Jesus. When you put that 3rd strand in your relationship, good luck, enemy. You get to build off of that together. You get to base that relationship on Jesus. You get to build him into your life every single day as you build with that person. It's amazing, and that's why doing life together is so important. But I got some bad news. It doesn't say a cord of 3 strands is unbreakable. It doesn't say a cord of 3 strands, man, just leave it and forget about it and it'll be fine. It says it's not quickly broken. But that doesn't mean you don't have to do the work to keep it together.
Oh, that's good.
When you're talking about a building, right? We're talking about building relationships. When you're talking about a building, you don't build a building and then leave it to time and expect it to last. There's maintenance, there's upkeep, there's projects, there's intentionality that goes into that building and keeping it standing. And a relationship with a person is no different. It takes intentionality, it takes being there.
Yep.
Putting that 3rd strand in that cord, that's a great first step. And I mean probably the best first step you can take. But it's not going to last unless you put in the work to keep it there. I want to talk about 2 things specifically that will erode your relationship faster than anything else. 2 things that after being here for a couple days, I know is attacking some of you. And God put it on my heart, like, man, lay this out there and talk about it. I want to talk about 2 things that if you don't deal with it now, it'll eat you alive later. If you don't deal with it now, the weight will get so heavy that you won't be able to outrun it anymore. I want to talk about guilt. I want to talk about grudges. Yeah, guilt. That's an offense that you hold on to. And grudges is an offense against somebody else. And those 2 things will erode the foundation of your relationship before you even realize it. And you're going to end up in a place where you're stuck in a muddy mire and you're like, man, how did I get here? And why didn't I see it sooner? So guilt, right? It's something we feel towards ourselves. And sometimes, man, we did something. We messed up. And we're holding on to it. And then there's this weird thing about guilt where sometimes we feel guilty about things that we never did wrong, but we have that guilt anyway. Something that happened in our childhood that we're like, man, it must have been my fault. Man, my dad left when I was 3. That must have been my fault. I feel guilty every day. And we try to deal with it. We try to do what we can. We try to deal with it our way. There's a few ways we try to do it. We deny it, like, man, it ain't even that big of a deal. Let me shove that back down. That won't explode 10 years from now and ruin my life. And just bury that down. We minimize it. Nah, it ain't a thing. It's fine. It's fine. We rationalize it. Man, everyone does it. Everyone does it. Yeah, I stole something, whatever. Everyone steals. If it's not that big of a deal, then why is it still haunting you every day of your life? I love that word, rationalize. A rational lie. It's a lie that the enemy makes sound so good that you want to believe it. But then why is it tearing me apart inside?
Yep.
Why is it tearing my heart up? And the last thing we do, and this is the one I see the most with y'all, and I hate it, is you just beat yourself up over it. You beat yourself up over it. Man, my self-worth is in the gutter. I'm not worth it. How could somebody else love me if I don't love me? How could somebody love me after the things that I've done? How could God love me when I'm so broken and I'm so wrong and I did so many things to so many people and I have all this guilt about the things I've done in my past? How could anybody ever love me? Sound familiar to some people? Because that sounded familiar for me for a long time. For a long time. But I got good news. That same book that gave us that amazing verse before, guess what? It tells us how to deal with guilt too. We're going to pull up Psalm 32, verse 3 to 5. I'm going to read it, and we're going to break it down. It says, when I refused to confess my sin, my body wasted away, and I groaned all day long. Day and night, your hand of discipline was heavy on me. My strength evaporated like water in the summer heat. Finally, I confessed all my sins to you and stopped trying to hide my guilt. I said to myself, I will confess my rebellion to the Lord, and you forgave me. All my guilt is gone. I want you to write this down if you got your pen and paper. I want you to write this down. Admit it, confront it, confess it, forget it. I'll say it again. Admit it, confront it, confess it, forget it. Now I want y'all to say it with me. Admit it, confront it, confess it, forget it. Admit it, confront it, confess it, forget it. And I wish I could tell you I was clever enough to make that up, but all I did was pull every sentence out of the scripture that I just read. Admit it, I confess my sins to you. Confront it, I stopped trying to hide my guilt. It's there, I'm guilty, I feel it, I have it in my heart. Confess it, I will confess my rebellion to the Lord. Lord, I'm submitted to you because I can't carry this alone anymore. Forget it. You forgave me, and all my guilt is gone. Yes. All my guilt is gone. You forgave me. If God can forgive you, you can forgive you. If God, the Most High, the Perfect, can forgive you, then who are you to not forgive yourself? Yep. Admit it, confront it, confess it, forgive it. And then there's grudges, that other monster that sits in the back of our head all the time. That grudge, that hurt that I hold because of something somebody else did to me. We get mad at them. We hold on to it. We're not going to let that anger go. Nobody's wrestling that anger away from me. That person's dead to me. They're done. I don't ever want anything to do with that person ever again because they hurt me. Right? Yeah. Right? They might not even have planned to do it intentionally, but they hurt you anyway. So we're done with them. We're done with them. We're pushing them to the side. We develop this grudge that we're never going to let go. So what do we do with that? With all that emotional garbage and all that hurt that's weighing down our heart? What are we called to do about that? Hey, guess what? There's that same book. That same book. Put Matthew 18 up there, please. It says, then Peter came to Jesus and asked, Lord, how many times shall I forgive my brother or sister who sins against me? Up to 7 times? And Jesus turns around and says to them, I tell you, not 7 times, but up to 70 times 7 times. We're called to forgive that offense as many times as we get offended. And I know that's hard to hear. But that's also because we get the idea of what forgiveness is twisted a little bit. Forgiveness is not giving a license to what they did to you. It's not condoning it. It's not saying, you hurt me, that's fine, do it again.
Right.
That's not it. That's not what forgiveness is. Hey, Cross, come here. Come here, homie. Come on stage. Y'all give it up for Cross.
Yeah!
Come stand over here. Look at them. Put your left arm out. Hold your palm up towards me, like this. Right, out to the side. Okay, hold it out as much as you can. All right. This is my first offense. Man, I forgot to call him on his birthday. Hold it out straight. Don't let it go. Hey, I went out to the movies with all of our friends, and I forgot to let him know. Hold it out. Don't let it go. Come on. Hey, you know, like, he was in the lunchroom, but my friends might not think he's all that cool, so, like, I didn't say hi. And then this one's going to take a little bit longer to explain while this weighs on him. Right? I don't know, maybe, like, I was driving down the road, and like, he was outside, and I just ignored him and pretended I didn't see him, and I didn't wave out the window. Yeah, okay, you can put it down. Hey, answer me. You good, leave it. Who did that hurt more, you or me? You. That's what a grudge is, y'all.
Oh, that's good.
The person who offends you, yeah, go ahead. The person who offends you probably doesn't even remember that they did it while you're still holding on to it. It's affecting you every single day, and they've already moved on. Hey, I didn't wave to him because I didn't see him there. I didn't wish him a happy birthday because I didn't know it was his birthday. Man, I got invited to go to the movies, and I felt weird inviting somebody else, so like I didn't even think about reaching out to him. But he's seething in that pain while I'm living my life. You see, forgiveness isn't saying it's okay that you hurt me. It's saying I'm not going to let your actions be the reason that I hurt every day anymore. I'm going to release your power over me. And no, this ain't even in my notes, but man, I'm feeling this. I'm feeling this right now, and I gotta say it. Sometimes you can't get the forgiveness you're looking for because that person isn't even alive anymore. You're letting someone hurt you from the grave.
Wow.
You're letting a parent that didn't love you right, a family member who didn't love you right, a friend who wasn't there for you, that's long gone, still affect you day in and day out because you are holding on to that hurt. Submit that up to God. And I forgive you.
That's right.
I forgive you. 7 times, 70 times, I forgive you. Because I'm not going to let that hurt affect my day anymore. I'm not going to do that. Because sure, relationships are great when they're easy.
Right.
When you're on a mountaintop and I'm on a mountaintop and we're all celebrating like all Jesus is doing and everybody's winning, woo! That's great. That's amazing. But just like the year, relationships have seasons. And not every season is summer. It's not always that easy, and it takes work. Relationships take effort. It takes dealing with and confronting those little cracks in that relationship before they become chasms so big that you can never put it back together. I want y'all to close your eyes right now. Just close your eyes. I want to talk, I want to pray, and I want to give y'all the privacy to feel free. Right now, if there's guilt on your heart, whether it's something you did to somebody or something you're holding on to and you feel guilty for and you don't know why you feel guilty for what's in your heart, but you do, raise a hand for me. Raise a hand for me. You gotta submit that up to God, y'all. God forgives you for what you did. God forgives you for that guilt. You can't turn back time and take it back, but your future starts today. And the way that you move forward is not dictated by your past. Put your hands down. Now, if you're holding a grudge against somebody, if somebody offended you, somebody hurt you, and you're holding that in your heart, raise your hand. Bring that name to your mind. Bring that to the forefront of your mind. Right now, take that moment and close that loop. Forgive that person and don't give them the ability to hurt you anymore. You don't need to condone what they did. You don't need to say it's okay. You don't need to let them back into your life to do it again. But you need to release that hurt and forgive it. and you need to bury that. You need to submit that to Jesus and bury it. Y'all can put your hands down. I want to pray over each and every one of you. Because I know it's hard enough being a teenager. But those guilt and those grudges are going to weigh you down until you can no longer move. You need to submit that up. That family member, that friend, that hurt, that guilt, submit it up. Make it right. If you did something wrong, release that guilt. And if there's a grudge, you forgive them so that you can live your life with a clean heart. I love y'all. And it breaks my heart when I see y'all getting dragged down by this stuff. And I want y'all to intentionally put these things at the forefront of your mind. Put that guilt, put those grudges, and carry them into your community group. Carry them into your small group. And I hope y'all have amazing discussions about how to move past these wickets in your life. Jesus, I want to pray for everybody in this room. I want to pray for the seasons that they're going through. If they're on a mountaintop, I hope they stay there as long as possible. But if they're in a valley, I pray that you give them a way up that mountain and that they trust you to clear that path. I want to pray for every relationship that is in this room right now. For all the friendships that they have. If there's anything left unsaid, if there's any guilt, if there's any grudges, that they can confront that, they can submit that, and they can forget that and move on. Because you already forgave them, God. I pray that they can find a relationship with each other. That the community that they're building right here at high school camp is something that lasts far outside of the bounds of Friday night. It's so easy to get off that bus and let the world bring your flame down to 50% right away. I pray that they burn hot for a long time. That the world doesn't dim their light, but their light sets on fire the Gulf Coast when we get off that bus. That the love and the relationships we build here change the hearts and the minds and the relationships of those that live in our community. That this community could be the one that changes the entire world. God, I pray that there's a revival right here tonight. And that every heart in here, every single person here, knows how powerful their tongue can be, knows that their words have meaning, and knows that they are a signal bearer of Jesus' love. Make that relationship right. Submit that guilt. Get rid of that offense and forgive that grudge. Jesus, we love you. Thank you for everything that you have done for us. And we are so hopeful for the things that you're going to continue to do for our futures. And we pray all this in your holy name. Amen. All right, y'all. Your time for the rest of the night is your time. Go do your community group. Go dig deep. Do not let this sit on surface level. Dig deep. Submit those things up. Love on each other. Be a shoulder to cry on. Don't be an adversary. Be an ally. And then after that, your time is your time. I hope that inspires you. I hope that message was for one of you. And I love y'all. Thank you.